Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report. I got the latest news and rumors, but before I dive into the news and rumors around the Raiders, let's talk about what's going on in the NFL right now. And some stuff went down today. So the NFL playoffs, they got expanded. We're going to go from 12 to 14 teams in 2020. This is important because originally the new CBA, this was going to be implemented in 2021. Nah. It's this year. It's going down. 14 teams now. The number one seed, going to be the Raiders. The AFC, NFC, they get that first round bye, okay? The other 12 teams, they're going to play wild card weekend. You know what that means? It means that we get to see more football, and I love the fact that we get to see more football. This is also important because last year the Raiders, going into Week 17, they were in the playoff hunt. Now, they had a really tough schedule. They had a lot of unfortunate injuries, but I don't know about you and me. I think the Raiders now have a very good chance of making the playoffs. And if you agree with me, what I want you to do is like this video right now. If you think that the Raiders are making the playoffs in 2020, I want you to like the video. Man, this thing's only got 57 live likes. I anticipate this getting over 1,000. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be upset. We had a great free agency. We have 5 picks in the top 100. Now, if we can just get the rookies to basically do what they did last year, this is easily a playoff team in my opinion. Plus, we don't have to travel as much. So every single person watching this show right now, if you don't think the Raiders are making the playoffs, get out of here. I don't want you. Also, this is pretty awesome. So we got an NFL draft update. I don't know if you guys saw this one. This one kind of just came across right before I went live, but there's a chance that the Raiders could host the 2022 NFL draft. Basically, because, we're kind of getting screwed out of not being able to host the draft this year because of the whole Big C. So the NFL VP, he went on to say that the draft could be in Vegas because in 2021, it's in Cleveland. 2022, it's still up in the air. 2023, it's in Kansas City. So the earliest that the NFL draft could be in Vegas, like actually in Vegas, is 2022. But I think we can all agree, if there is one place that the draft should be, heck, not just 2022, every single year, let's get it in Las Vegas because that's by far, in my opinion, the best location. So we're talking about the draft. We talked about the playoffs. You guys ready to dive in now to some stuff about the Raiders? I thought so. Now, this one came across yesterday that 2 teams have arranged video calls with quarterback Justin Herbert. It's the Chargers and the Raiders. That is according to Ian Rappaport. Now, because of the Big C, you can't meet with players. But even before the Big C went down, the Raiders, they were going to meet with Justin Herbert regardless. I mean, he's one of the top quarterback prospects. We know John Gruden loves his quarterbacks. And you get to go out and you get to meet with 30 players. Why wouldn't they go out and meet with one of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft? Now, the one thing that I will say this, I like the fact that Herbert has played 4 years of college football. He's also played in a relatively pro-friendly style offense at Oregon. And even though I think 2018 was his best year, 2019 is a pretty interesting year as well, I think, in terms of him growing. My only thing that scares me a little bit with him is I don't know if he's an actual leader in the locker room. That scares me a little bit. Plus, if we wouldn't have gone out and I think got Mariota, that makes this a little bit different of a conversation, right? So here's what the Raiders quarterback depth chart looks like right now. You got Carr. He's going to be the starter. I don't care what anyone says. You got Mariota as your QB2. Kaiser is your 3. We'll see what happens there. And then Peterman, we know he has got that 5th round tender. So we're talking about Herbert. And on this show, I always give Chucky heads. So you know what? I'm going to ask you, okay? The Raiders drafting Justin Herbert. How many Chucky heads? 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4? And for those of you that are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to make this the pinned comment on the video. So scroll on down and let me know how many Chucky heads the Raiders drafting Justin Herbert. For me, it's 1 Chucky head, and I just think it's a small shred of truth. I get it. I like Justin Herbert. He's a good quarterback. But for me, that means you have to probably trade up to get him because I don't see him dropping to pick number 12. I just don't see it. I see him going to the Chargers, honestly, at pick 6. So for us, if we got to trade up to get him, that's not what I want. The Raiders, they signed Mariota in free agency, and it wasn't just like a little bit of money. They gave him $7.5 million, plus his incentives tell me that the Raiders have a lot of confidence in Mariota. So why would you go out and draft a Justin Herbert? Because they've also said that they plan on sticking with Derek Carr. Now, in terms of drafting a quarterback, I think if you're going to go out and get one, I think it's a lot more likely that you could see them maybe go get a player in the third round. You know why? Because we have 3 picks in the third round. And I think the other thing that always makes me laugh is like, people are always like, oh, John Gruden. John Gruden can't resist quarterbacks. You want to see one of the cool stats that I found? And shout out to my man Jerry McDonald on Twitter. Here are the quarterbacks that John Gruden has drafted. 2001, Marquise drafted him round 2, 59 overall. Chris Sims, round 3. Bruce Grodkowski, round 6. Josh Johnson, round 5. Anytime somebody says, oh, John Gruden loves quarterbacks, he does. But just because he loves quarterbacks doesn't mean he's going to go draft one in round 1, okay? That's not what this means. So shout out to Jerry. Appreciate that you found this. This is an awesome stat. But I will say this. If you're trying to at least say maybe there's a guy to keep an eye on, I gave you 5 names, okay? I'm going to give you 5 quarterbacks that I think that the Raiders have their eye on. I think they do have their eye on Jordan Love. Maybe he drops like Drew Lock did last year for the Broncos. You could see Love maybe slide to the round 2. Then who knows? Maybe the Raiders trade up to maybe, I don't know, mid-second. Anthony Gordon is the player that I know they like. They love Jalen Hurts. That's a fact. And I think out of all these quarterbacks, the most likely one is actually probably Jalen Hurts in round 3. They like Jacob Eason's big arm. And then James Morgan, this is probably a little bit more of a quarterback prospect that you could see them target in maybe the 4th or 5th round. Now, I appreciate you guys very, very much. We just crossed 40K subscribers. And if you bleed silver and black, if you love the Raiders, and if you're stuck at home like me and you just need some Raiders content, I got you covered. We're going to be doing news, rumors, the entire offseason long. I love you guys very much. And I think the other reason that you should subscribe, even if you don't like me, we're going to be giving away some free stuff. And I mean, come on. Who doesn't love free stuff? Now, again, we just crossed 40K subscribers. So I just want to show people that I appreciate you. Y'all are my family. And shout out to Only One Nation. I'm going to be giving away this hat, and I'm going to be giving away this t-shirt in just a little bit. So if you want a chance to win that hat, go ahead, click the subscribe button right now if you're not already subscribed. If you are already subbed, type sub. That's going to tell the team in the back here who we're going to pick to be the winner. All right, let's get in now to the next thing here about the draft. What are the chances that the Raiders draft a running back? I'm actually going to give this one 2 Chucky heads, and people are talking. And I saw this from NBC Sports. They go on to say that the Raiders should add a running back to help Josh Jacobs and Jalen Richard. And to be honest, I agree with it because I like the fact that they signed Rod Smith in terms of depth. Shouldn't surprise anyone considering Rod Marinelli, all the Cowboys connections. But I still think that we need another running back. And I love Isaiah Crowell. Unfortunately, the Achilles injury, it does scare me a little bit. So I don't really see them bringing him back. So maybe instead of going out and signing a running back in free agency, because let's be real, you probably have to overpay for one. I think the Raiders could go out and look for a running back a little bit later on in the draft, maybe around 3, maybe around 4, maybe around 5 kind of player. So for me, the 2 running backs that I'm keeping my eye on are the 2 running backs that NBC mentions here that the Raiders should go out and potentially add. So the first one that they mention is Boston College running back A.J. Dillon. And if you're looking for a big dude, a thumper, I think it's A.J. Dillon. I mean, he's 6 foot 250. The comp that I think of when I see Dillon run is actually a lot like LeGarrette Blount, if we're just being blunt. He can run between the tackles. Sometimes he's a little bit slow. But if you're looking for a dude that can read tackles, A.J. Dillon's solid. Another running back to just keep your eye on, okay? It's Keyshawn Vaughn out of Vanderbilt. 5'10", 218-pound running back. Last year, the Raiders were looking for thumpers. That's why they went out and got Rod Smith. Now, if they go out and draft a running back, that's not taking anything away from Josh, and it's not going to take anything away from Jalen Richard. I think it's just another running back that you need to have in the backfield just in case something happens to Jacobs. You're looking for a guy to fill in the exact same way DeAndre Washington did, just so we're clear. So those are 2 names to keep in mind. So do you want the Raiders to draft a running back? Type D for draft, type P for pass. I'm actually going to type my D for draft, but I want it to be later on. I'm going to come out with another mock draft. You're going to see a running back in that mock. But when I really think about what is important for this team, it is keeping, okay? It is keeping Derek Carr, and it's keeping Josh Jacobs healthy on that offense. What's a great way to do that? maybe going out and getting another running back. And if that's what we got to do, if you're going to give me an A.J. Dillon in round 3, guess what? I'm on board for that. So I'm seeing a lot of D's. I'm seeing a lot of P's. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Got over 600 people watching. And, yeah, I did just see a super chat come in for $49.99. So we'll probably have to make him the moderator here coming up soon. So if you guys want this special deal, I saw some people say they want a hat. We will be doing a hat giveaway in a little bit. But if you want this hat that's on screen, go to chatsports.com/RaidersHat4, okay? I'll put the link in the comments. I'll put it in the description as well. That hat, $26.59. Now, maybe you don't like flat bills. It's all good. Dad, I'm talking to you. If you want this one, the curved brim, go to chatsports.com/RaiderHat5. But use promo code MELT for up to 60% off, okay? So it's even more than just the hats I'm showing you here. If you go to Raiders Hat 5, though, you're going to get this one, and it's only $17.49. Okay, take advantage of this deal because I believe it ends by end of day Thursday. Alicia's looking at me, giving the nod. Yeah, end of day Thursday. Promo code MELT. All right, let's keep it rolling, shall we? The Raiders. I saw this one. Jeffrey Okudah falling to us at pick number 12. This one is tuck rule, tuck that. It ain't happening. I saw it from Silver and Black Pride, and I get it. Sometimes, you guys got to make content. It's all good. I'm in the same business as well. But the article was literally titled, How Jeff Okudah Could Fall to the Raiders. And then I love it because Victor Four quote tweeted the article and said, is there LSD involved? Because the only way Jeff Okudah falls to number 12 if LSD is involved. If you don't know what it is, Google it. Okay? Google it. I love Jeff Okudah. He's the top cornerback in this year's draft. And I know John Gruden loves Jeff Okudah. Heck, he literally asked, what planet are you from? But let's get one thing straight. Jeff Okudah is not falling to pick 12. The only way that he ends up in Silver and Black is if we trade up for him. And if you're going to trade up for him, you're probably going to have to give up your 12, and you're probably going to have to give up a third-round pick, plus maybe a fourth, to go up and get Okudah, who, in my opinion, easily a top 10, probably a top 5 pick. And I know Tom right now, once he sees this, is like going to start laughing that somebody actually thinks that Jeffrey Okudah is falling to the Raiders at pick number 12. So we're doing a lot of talking about the draft. How about this? Let's talk about free agency because this rumor has been coming across on my Instagram and Twitter way too much. Cam Newton to the Raiders. No. Tuck rule. Tuck that. It's not going to happen. I saw CBS say it. I've seen now Fansided say, oh, Cam Newton would be the perfect fit for the Raiders. Why? Why would Cam Newton be the perfect fit for the Raiders? Somebody explain it to me because you know what? It doesn't make sense to me. He was cut by the Panthers, and right now you can't test Cam Newton. You can't find out if he's healthy or not. So for me, you're going to bring Cam Newton on this team not knowing whether or not he's healthy. That's not something I'm interested in. I'm sorry. Now, for some of you who are like, oh, well, he can be a mobile quarterback. Well, I don't even know if he's a quarterback at this point. I mean, guys, look at these numbers here for passing. Cam Newton hasn't thrown a passing touchdown, actually, in his last 6 games. The Panthers were not a good football team last year with Cam Newton because why? He wasn't fully healthy. And at 31 years old, I get it. He was the MVP in 2015. But even look at his rushing numbers, okay? Now, last year in 2 games only. Why wasn't he carrying the football a lot? He wasn't healthy. But his rushing numbers have actually started to go down. And I think Cam is an amazing athlete. I think he's an amazing player. But we went out and got Marcus Mariota. Derek Carr is our quarterback. And for people that don't like Derek, I don't really understand why. You're not going to find a quarterback at Derek's value at $21.5 million in today's NFL. So why would we go out and bring in Cam Newton? Because in my opinion, he'd be the quarterback 3 right now. He's not healthy. That's a fact. Now, I get that he did a lot for the NFL. I get that he's been an MVP once. But, man, I am so sick and tired of hearing that Cam Newton would be the perfect fit. But this show, not about me. It is about y'all, and I'm going to let you get your votes in now. Should the Raiders go out and sign Cam Newton? I want you to type Y for yes, or I want you to type your N for no. Obviously, I'm giving it tuck rule, tuck that. I'm going to type my and for no. But if you guys want to get your votes in here, I'm seeing a lot of no's. Seeing a lot of no's. And I think that's a smart decision. Love Cam Newton, but wish him the best. But I just don't think that he's ever going to be a Raider. Raider Nation, what's going on? Is this the #1 Raiders channel on YouTube? For Chucky Heads, believe it, baby. And if you haven't already, subscribe right here. I'm giving you Chucky Heads news, rumors, Raider Nation rumors. And look at this, I'm making your life easier. Check out my next video. Thanks for watching, and go Raiders.